This is Mirabella's Kitchen, and today I'm making eye of round roast. If you'd like to cook with me, please check the description below for a list of the ingredients and a shout out to my patron. This is a meal from my childhood I've been feeling nostalgic for lately. I got the recipe from my mom, who got it from my grandma. I got a 2.5 pound eye of round hunk of meat from the store, which I ended up pushing past its limit in all honesty. It was slimy, it was sour, it had some weird coloring to it, which when beef is gray doesn't inherently mean it's bad if it still smells and looks okay. But this was not, so I went to the store, made a pit stop there, and started over. So this is a 3-pound roast. It's nice and red, and I am ready to get cooking. So I take it and put it into my Dutch oven. I then add 3 tablespoons of olive oil on top of the roast to coat it. I'm going to flip the roast to make sure both sides have a nice amount of olive oil. I then season with coarse kosher salt, freshly ground black pepper, and garlic powder. I use about half a teaspoon of each on each side, so 1 teaspoon total. I flip it, do it again. I then add water into the pan. So I use probably about 1.5 cups. It was about 1 inch worth of water, but I recommend using 2 total cups. My meat didn't come out as tender as I wanted. I think part of it was the water content. I then take a yellow onion, I halve it, peel it, and quarter it. I'm going to add the quarters into the Dutch oven and put it around the roast. I'm taking 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter and adding it on top of the roast. I then cover it with the lid of my Dutch oven, and I'm putting into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven to cook for 2 hours. I do recommend upping it to 2.5 to 3 hours, as my meat did not come out as tender as I wanted. I'm going to pair this with some mashed potatoes. I'm taking about 2 to 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. I'm peeling them, I'm halving them, and quartering them. I will then add them into a large saucepan, cover them with at least 1 inch of water, and I'm going to bring it up to a boil over high heat and let them cook for about 30 to 40 minutes. Once they are done, and you'll know they are done by, I recommend removing some of them and putting into a small bowl, and I try to break it up with a fork, and since it is easily falling apart, that's how I know my potatoes are done. I then strain the water, and I add them back into the pan, and I am going to use a plain old potato masher today to mash them up. I then season them with some coarse kosher salt, freshly ground black pepper, I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of salted butter, and I start with a 1/4 cup of skim milk and mix everything together. I season to my liking, so I do recommend starting with a lighter amount of seasoning before adding more, doing a taste test. And I found I wanted a little bit more of the creaminess of the milk. I know I'm using skim milk, but I wanted a little bit more of that thinner consistency for my potatoes. The roast is revealed. I remove it from the Dutch oven and place it on a cutting board that has a towel underneath it. This is in case any of the juices while it rests start to run off the cutting board, which has happened to me a few times. Save that extra juice, the liquid, the onions, and I'm gonna make a gravy with it using cream of chicken soup. I use 1 15-ounce can, and I whisk it together until it is smooth. I then add it back into the oven for about 10 minutes at 350. I wanted to thicken, but I found it wasn't as thick as I wanted. I was getting hungry. I just kind of wanted to eat and taste it and like get back to that old school feeling. But I found that it needed a little more time. So I recommend while the roast rests for 10 to 20 minutes, putting it on a stove or back into the oven. I then slice the roast, and I need some work on my skills. But I sliced the whole roast up, and I'm going to plate a few pieces of the roast on top of some mashed potatoes that have a little bit of the onion gravy. And then I'm going to add some more on top for good measure. You can alternatively just place it back into the pan with the pieces and cover it and serve it like that. And that's my eye of round roast. Thanks so much for joining me today. I make new videos on cooking every Thursday. Please support me on Patreon and on Facebook at Mirabella's Kitchen.